Though the mountains may fall and the hills turn to dust, yet the Lord...
Welcome to Early Morning Catechism. This week we are beginning the week of October, and it's fall, and fall is football season. Or you don't want to look at this side of the ball. No. You want to look at the green side for the Green Bay Packers. Let me tell you a story about a Packer football game. The sister I live with and I were at a football game about 4 or 5 years ago, and we were sitting in the end zone. Some people had given us their tickets for the game, and in front of us was a row of guys that were having a great time. And every time something happened, they would stand up and they would be yelling and screaming and cheering, and they'd had a few beers, so there was a little language that came out of their mouths now and then. And finally, one guy looked at the other and he said, "We better be careful. I think those are church ladies behind us." And so we got to talking to them, and the interesting thing was we found out they were from Green Bay, and they actually knew my sister and her family, and they knew some of Sister Ruth's friends, and it was like, oh my goodness, we have a relationship here. We know each other. There's some connections. In today's lesson on faith, we're going to be talking about faith as rooted in a relationship. And we turn in the Bible to the story of Moses. Moses was called by God in chapter 3 of the book of Exodus to lead the people out of Egypt and back through this Sinai Peninsula where he actually was when the call came, and back up here to the Promised Land, the land of Israel. And so it's going to be a long journey. And Moses is upset with God. It's like, no, I can't do this. You want me to do something, I can't do it. And he gives God a number of reasons, including the fact that he has a speech problem. But in the middle of it all, he says to God, if I go tell the people we're leaving Egypt, they're going to say, oh yes, and who is this God that told you? What's his name? And then God does an interesting thing. God tells Moses his name. I am who am. In Hebrew, it's the name Yahweh. In the Hebrew culture, to tell someone your name was not something you did as soon as you met a person, just like we were church ladies. And then we got to know each other on a first name basis. So these were people called by God, the Lord, the all-powerful one, and now God says, but I want a closer relationship. I'll share with you my name, my very name. And in different parts of Scripture, it will say that Moses is the one to whom God gave his own name. And so if our faith life is to grow, it has to be rooted in a personal relationship with our God. Faith can't be about rules and beliefs if it's not about, first and foremost, a relationship. I know God. God knows me. And so we can ask ourselves, do we know God? And do we trust that God has a personal relationship with us? Do we know Jesus? Do we walk hand in hand with Jesus? Do we talk to Jesus? Do we share what's going on in our story, and do we seek to know his story? This is crucial as we talk about evangelization. Crucial. Faith begins with a sharing of stories. Evangelizing begins with a sharing of stories. And then I have another question. I think each of us has our own burning bush, our place where we have met God in a very personal way. Where is that burning bush for you? And to the extent that we are in a loving relationship with God, we will do whatever God asks.
Forget his love.